Next.
Bryce Young seems super cool, right?
Yeah,
Like his
he's a chill
on-field
guy, man. Real
personality.
chill guy.
Yeah, his on-field personality seems like it would definitely translate off the field. I would love to play for that dude. Lucky Lefty Podcast. What's
Yeah.
good, LL Nation? I'm your boy, Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics. That dude, Mr. Elite 11 himself, Malik Zaire, Overtime Malik. Brought to you by Onora Whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. It's that premium American whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, make sure that you do drink responsibly. Now, I have a bunch of questions for you today, bro. Life throws you some things. And I'm like, yo, so I am a highly disappointed White Sox fan, even though I have my hat on. Um, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. And this is going to lead to our question of the day, bro. Um, yeah. See, you know, this team just doesn't have it this year, bro. I can be honest. I can be honest. So it leads me to believe or ask the question because my second team is actually the LA Dodgers. Watch them every night on the MLB ticket. Like I bought the package just so I can watch the Dodgers. So every time I want to watch some good baseball, I don't watch the White Sox and I watch the Dodgers. Who is the one team this year that you think you'll watch the most outside of Notre Dame? Who is the one team that you'll watch the most? You're on mute, I think.
For me, it would be South Carolina and Spencer Rattler.
Your
A
boy?
lot of people a lot of people seem to think that because his spot was taken
Hmm.
at Oklahoma, that his chances of getting drafted are very slim, even if he does well. So I think that's a huge knock on his journey so far. But he's in a really good system in South Carolina, got a really good head coach,
Facts.
and he's in the SEC. He's getting a chance to play everybody. To plays Bryce Young, gets to play Stetson Bennett, gets to play Hendon Hooker. So he's playing some guys that are going to be draftable guys. So maybe not Bennett, but Georgia. So I think I just want to keep an eye out on him, man. I think if anything, seeing if he can get back in that top 10 QBs because it's not a strong class either. So we'll see how it goes.
You said that you spent time yesterday watching CJ Stroud and some of the other guys, some of the college quarterbacks. Your boy Caleb Williams was out there. It was funny. I saw a video of Caleb and Dante both trying to hit the goal post from midfield, and they both were able to do that. I was like, "Yo, that's crazy. That's absolutely bananas." But just talk about that atmosphere of having rising stars on the field with current college quarterbacks and just the competition and everybody getting to peep everyone's game. You muted, bro.
How does it keep getting muted?
I don't
I
know.
just it's just crazy to see. It's crazy to see the guys before they blow up. I remember being a counselor during a couple years ago when they had Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence in the competition. And I remember them saying, "Oh, these are number two guys for sure. They're gonna be draftable guys." And then seeing them throw in high school, getting to talk to them a little bit, and then fast forward 4 years later, one's playing for the Browns and one's playing for Jacksonville. I think it's cool to see their quick rise to that because coming from senior high school to start in the NFL is not that far for those guys. So seeing the guys now, seeing guys like Dante, Caleb, CJ Stroud in an environment where everybody's at in one place and there's not a lot of media, there's not a lot of fans, there's like it's kind of hangout kind of thing, secret location kind of thing. It gives that brotherhood to what Elite 11 means, in that everybody can be from all around the country, but you come to this little field and you make things happen with guys that you're gonna see in college. Like that being at Elite 11 every year helps me kind of know what's going on in college football
Yeah.
down the line. Like the quarterback that's going to Kentucky, is going to Pittsburgh from Tennessee. He looked pretty damn good, and that's with Dante and Eli Holston and Malachi Nelson. He actually won the pro day yesterday, but that guy was pretty solid. Another guy at Ohio State, you find out information being there. Ohio State's interested in the Novak kid that's committed to Baylor because Ohio State doesn't have a 2023 kid yet. I think it's because of Dylan Rayota, but Ohio State always wants talent. They've had successions of years where they've had guys go year after year after year to the NFL, so it's no different now.
Lucky Lefty podcast, man. I went to the Red Cup yesterday, bro. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, had to get something off your chest.
because I just think it's disingenuous, man, when fans act like, just because it seems or it's been reported that they've been jilted, and now they want to act like they weren't interested in this particular recruit anyway. Good riddance and all of that type of stuff. And we got this kid in
Mm-hmm.
24, so we don't need this kid. And it's like, man, stop fronting, stop. But
Yeah, cut it out.
cut it out. And I knew you would be the magic, bro. I knew you would be the magic once you got to the Elite 11. I knew your presence would do some things. And all this reporting for the last 2 to 3 weeks, same publication about we got this kid, so we're backing off this kid. No, hold up. Check that. They're not backing off the kid. They're still talking to the kid. We'll have more to now. This kid's a heavy Oregon lean. It's looking like Oregon to hold up. Let's sit down and talk to him about Notre Dame. You and I, through the whole thing, were just like, yeah, okay. All right. All right. Then it comes out, and we can put it
I
out.
just hope this situation.
It's so amazing because we can put it out now, right? We can just say it, right? Because it's been put out. Yes. Like after the whole CJ Carr thing, right? It's been put out by other publications that Dante reached out. Now, this is the key. Dante reached out, and his question was, do I still have a spot? That doesn't sound like a kid that doesn't want to compete. His question to the staff was, do I still have a spot? All right.
Yeah,
We can confirm that the response was an emphatic hell yeah. Hell yeah. You got a spot. We won't get into the other mechanics of that. We'll let things play out. But now, he sits down, does an interview last night, and he says, yeah, like I'm real tight with Rico. Me and Rico talk all the time. The same dude that has a decision coming up July 3rd. But if Dante was such a heavy lean, why is he still talking to Notre Dame recruits? We already know he talks to Braylon James.
Yeah.
Why is he telling the
We
national
already
media?
know he talks to Jay Lamar.
Already know that. Why is he telling the national media that he's keeping track on the recruiting class and loves how everything is going? Knew about the Jagasaw commitment before it became official. I'm going to say that again. I'm telling you from my intel, knew about the Jagasaw commitment before it became official this morning at 8 o'clock. Ladies and gents, we've been telling you to relax. Amidst all of this and everybody getting upset, well, we didn't want them anyway, da, da, da. We've been saying, relax. Don't believe everything you hear. And that's why we chose to come out and stand on the island that we chose to come out and stand on last week. Just interesting, man. It's just, and I knew your presence would like kind of bring a totally different, let me use the word anointing, over the Elite 11 field. I just knew if he caught your eye, things might start to flow a different way. You know, I just always felt that way, right? And I told you a week ago, like,
That's right.
Yeah, make sure you show up. Make sure you show your face.
Yeah.
Get everything to calm down. Like, look, focus. Let's focus. Get back on task.
Yeah. Just wanted to, just back on task. I think what's interesting is that it shakes out how it's supposed to shake out. You know, I think Dante getting a chance to be at Elite 11, check out guys that are he's going to be competing against that's committed to other schools, and seeing that, okay, I might want to see him down the road. And the only place you can really see most of these guys down the road is only one place, and that's Notre Dame.
Yes.
When I played in Elite 11, I saw more than most quarterbacks saw because I played against most of them. The only players I didn't play against is probably Jared Goff. That's because he played at Cal. But we play Cal this year. See what I'm saying? So eventually we're going to play your team. In Alabama. That's the only two teams I didn't play was Jared and Alabama. But I think, too, he has the confidence in himself as the number one guy in the class. Also being at Elite 11 where he feels like competition isn't something he's afraid of or worried about. He just wants to be in the right spot to show what he can really do. And I think Notre Dame's the place for that.
And all he wants to know, I'm not going to say all because I can't speak for him. What he wants to know is like, yo, are we still good? Like, I'm hearing a whole lot of stuff. We still good? Like he told the media, everybody wanted me to get up there for an official visit. I don't need that. I've been there. We pointed this out.
But I got to go there for right now.
People are mad because he likes to do things. He doesn't like the spotlight. That's why I don't understand all this stuff about, oh, he just wants the NIL money. Like, this kid doesn't like the spotlight. Doesn't talk to the media over the phone. He'll talk to you if you're in front of him, but that's it. Doesn't like the spotlight, just wants to go out there and play. And all he wanted to know when the dust settled from all of that mess that was started, unfortunately, by Notre Dame media outlets, was, yo, do I still have my spot? That's it. Do I still have my spot? That's all I want to know. Until this day,
And
he's still talking to Notre Dame. Look, go ahead, bro.
I think Dante is the guy that fits what Notre Dame needs right now. He's comfortable in his own skin, and it's just the way of elite quarterbacks and where we are right now. They're doing it the way they want to do it,
Yeah.
and that's quite all right, man. That's quite all right because clearly Notre Dame is still doing what they want to do. We ain't wait too long. So I think that it's important that for Dante, it's just, man, go where you feel like you most love. And I think he's gonna make the right decision on that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I just hope he don't end up like Imani Bates in his situation.
Oh. Well, first of all, that's a good point. Because Imani Bates reclassified when he shouldn't have. That's number one.
Mm.
That's number one. Then he went to the wrong school. And the treatment or the
You really thought Memphis was wrong?
Yeah. Memphis was wrong because if he was going to reclassify, he should have gone to a program that was going to be able to nurture him instead of just throwing him into the fire. See, Memphis just threw him into the fire. And you have to understand, Memphis had like a top 3 recruiting class. I think the year before
Jalen Duran got drafted.
Year before they had like a top 5 recruiting class. So you are walking into a locker room full of dogs that all think they can play. And they turned on him. The locker room turned on him. They held meetings about him, player only meetings where they came at him. This kid is 17 years old at the time, bro.
Yeah.
And it damaged him. It damaged him. And he physically wasn't ready, dude. He just physically wasn't
he's too skinny.
ready. He physically wasn't ready. So that, once again, an example of a player and his parents being a little too anxious to get to the bag and putting themselves in a bad position. And now he hits
think EMU is good?
He hits the transfer portal, and none of the big programs wanted him.
Nah.
Like DePaul here in Chicago. DePaul was in his top 5. This dude was the number 1 player, number 2 player in the nation in his class.
Behind the guy that got drafted number 2 a couple days ago.
Yo, it's just, and it could correlate to, the situation that we see now, NIL and parents, controlling the recruiting of the, you just want your son to be in a good situation where he can grow. Whatever that position or that situation is, I don't care what school it is. Ultimately, I want, as much as I love Notre Dame, I understand we can only have a certain amount of players on the roster every year and on scholarship. But my heart goes out to the young men that are out there trying to find scholarships. My heart goes out that they find a place where they're comfortable and they can be developed not only on the field, but they can be developed as men. More importantly, as men. And for me, that's the greatest thing. I never got to meet you and the guys. I never got to meet Max Redfield while he was playing. But the dude I met a couple of months ago, I'm glad I met him.
Good dude.
Good dudes. You know what I'm saying? And that for me As much as I'm a fan, which is why I asked the question, like, is there a team that you're going to watch? Like for us last year, it was Georgia. Like I was going to watch Georgia every week. Just the
Yeah.
allure, the defense. I wanted to watch that team. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I love watching Bryce Young. I love watching Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, fun to watch.
He's fun to
Yeah.
watch. I'm a White Sox fan, right? I tuned in last night to watch Shohei Ohtani, bro. That's a show.
Really?
That's a show. And so ultimately, we are fans of Notre Dame, but ultimately we are fans of college football as well. So, as much as I love Notre Dame, there's only Ryan Wingo. He made me think of something, bro. This was my first experience in college football was when my grandfather took me to my first Notre Dame game. But I was so small that I really don't remember. I wasn't able to really digest everything, right? My first full
Mm.
experience of a college football game was going up to the big house. My aunt is an alum of Michigan. We drove up. Her best friend
That's
and
a
her husband are Michigan State alums. We drove up to Michigan. I never forget.
mm.
We parked on the golf course across from Michigan Stadium. And me and my cousin threw Nerf footballs back and forth on the Michigan golf course before the game and
Wow.
after the game.
And
And
after.
and after. It was Michigan versus Michigan State. It was Anthony Carter. Ali Haji Sheik was the kicker. It was a close game, good game. And I ran around the stadium with my cousin. Like, we didn't even stay in our seats. The whole game, we were just running around the stadium, dude. Just running around the stadium, having fun.
Wow.
We're about 11, 12. That was my first full game day experience, bro. So as much as I dislike Michigan as a Notre Dame fan, I am a huge fan of Michigan State. You understand what I'm saying? And
Really?
I tell anyone,
Yeah.
if you love college football, you have to go to Michigan Stadium for a game. You have to. Like how massive it
Yeah.
is,
You have
how
to. You have
it
to.
goes down into the ground.
It's huge.
As loud as it gets, dude, it's an amazing place to see a college football game. Now, if we line up against them or when they play anybody, I'm pulling for the other team. I don't care if it's App State. I don't care if it's Northwestern. I'm pulling for that other squad. But Michigan Stadium is one of the must haves when it comes to experiencing college football. It just
Yeah.
is. So as much as we love being Notre Dame fans, like, man, don't cheat yourself out of being a college football fan because this is one of the greatest sports and one of the greatest experiences you can have. I actually you got to experience as a player. What was that Florida Georgia game like?
Well, unfortunately, we got cooked real early, so it wasn't as intense as it, probably has been in the past. But the
Yeah.
build up to the game was there, the kickoff and the excitement was there. This is when Georgia had Jake Fromm and they were just running the ball 50 times a game. Like Jake Fromm only threw the ball in that game 10 times and they beat us by like 40 points. So outside of the butt whooping we was getting, you could tell that it was really intense between just what it stood for. It's the largest tailgate party in the world, and it felt like it. And I think excitement of the smaller stadium. It felt more compact. Jacksonville's not as big as like a Georgia stadium, but it was fun all in the same.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm interested in seeing what you guys think about your best experience in college football to this point. I'm getting out to the Coliseum this year for the Notre Dame game. So man, I'll
Yeah,
get to experience that with my
yeah.
dad.
I was there like,
Yeah, my dad is a
wow,
lifelong. My dad is a lifelong Lakers and USC fan. You know what I'm saying? So
really?
yeah, he's a like he grew up in an era where they had all the
All the way
running.
in Chicago?
Dude, you have to understand, national
Right.
TV drove everything in the Midwest growing up.
It did.
And in our neighborhoods, it's always one team that's symbolic for different eras. Like growing up, for a lot of my friends, it was the Miami Hurricanes from a football standpoint because of the connection to the culture, connection to hip hop. There was a lot of dudes in Chicago that love the Miami Hurricanes, right? At the same time, the majority of
Yeah.
people growing up love Georgetown basketball, and they just loved it. Like and Chicago really doesn't have a college basketball team like that, but it's always a team that grabs. And during my dad's, childhood, it was Charles White, O.J. Simpson, and man, they had those running backs just back to back to back, and that was his squad. That was his squad. He stuck with
Yeah.
them, and I really think he wanted to move to LA because he was a Lakers fan, he was a USC fan. I'm like, okay, and he was a Dodgers fan. So there you have it.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like you got the combo like that, especially if you that far, you a real fan for real.
Right, right. So, man, Penn State. I see a lot of people talking about Penn State. That experience, that whiteout. That's probably a dope experience. That's probably a dope experience. I'm trying to think of another. You played, but is
I
there?
think a dope experience was playing at
Go ahead.
one of the dopest experience I had was being able to play at the Fenway Park and
Oh,
having a football game at Boston Red Sox Stadium and the Yankee Stadium
hmm,
because we played at both. I think that's something that I remember at least. I just remember me having a green jersey on, running and hitting the wall and throwing the football in front of it in a real, like I'm really here. It was
yeah,
it was cool. It was a cool spot. So
yeah.
something you never forget for sure.
That's wild. What was the craziest atmosphere you played in?
Prior to Florida State game, just
14.
because that was my favorite school. Yeah, that was my favorite school to watch growing up, and the hype and everything was there. It was like 3 verse 5 or whatever, 1 verse 5 or whatever. Night game, TV,
Yeah,
smoky stadium, crazy entry. The girls was out there. I mean, it was everything that you grow up looking at on the highlights of the greatest football games ever and movie type stuff. I mean, it was everything you could imagine. Even the locker room was super small. So the aesthetic of it was crazy. I mean, loved every minute of it, man. And unfortunately, we didn't get the win, but we did have a great just experience being there.
yeah. I think it was
And
dope.
it
And
really showed how much of an impact it had on the season.
yeah, there's another one that I got a chance to experience, and it is for a different reason. If you've never been able to experience pregame and the Grove at Ole Miss, man,
That's nice. I heard
man,
it was solid though.
bro, it's incredible, man, and it's beautiful. It's like Everything is just decked out, all white, and just it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. It really is, and it's darn good food. And I just, the person I went with was a good connect to go with. So
Okay.
so I was actually in the best areas. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was dope. The
All that
game day
matters.
all overall, but just that pregame in the Grove and that experience, it definitely was top notch. I mean, college football is full of so many traditions, man. So I mean, to enjoy a game on the
Yes.
road is probably incredible, right? Um, I talked to some guys I know that played for Miami, and they constantly say the toughest place for them to play was Morgantown, just because of the fans
Mm.
and how ridiculous it was, and how they would get hit by batteries in the tunnel while they waited to come on the field, and
Yeah, they can't do that now, but I can imagine.
bourbon bottles and all types of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So
That's when they was good though. Like they don't do it now. So
heck, they might have more of a reason to throw it at their own squad. As bad as they've
straight up.
struggled recently.
Ever since what's the name left?
Yeah, yeah, dude. Let me tell you something. Big commitment this morning came down. The offensive line is done. It's done. Um, Monroe Freeling is still out there, but I just really don't see things trending in a positive direction for his recruitment in
Right.
Notre Dame. We'll see. Maybe Harry Hiestand can work some magic. He definitely worked the magic with Charles Jagasaw, who is the highest ranked offensive lineman to ever commit to Notre Dame.
Over Q?
Yes, he was higher than Q and Ronnie
Wow.
Stanton.
He must be the
So
number one player in the country.
this is the crazy thing. He is not, and you can point to this. He was literally 2 months ago ranked as the number one offensive lineman in the class. But he doesn't do camps.
2 months ago.
No, it was like 2 months ago. He doesn't do camps. He's super low key, and his ranking dropped in just 2.5 months. His ranking dropped from like top 10 to like top 50.
Wow.
Like, why? For what reason? It's crazy.
But that's they're not going to camp thing. The same thing happened with Arch Manning. He hasn't been to any camps, and somehow he's the greatest recruit in the last 10 years. Something crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And ain't seen it, ain't been a lick anywhere. That's crazy.
Right. I see people disagreeing. It's like, look, it's published in multiple stories on multiple sites that he's the highest rated. So take it up with them. Don't take it up with me.
Take it up with the
Take it up with them. Don't
yeah.
take it up
The
with
fan
me.
be taking up with you like you wrote it.
Right.
They like
Don't
you
take it up
wrote it,
with me.
Shaun. We're taking it up with you.
Yeah. Don't take it up with me. But yo, Pendleton, Asher, Elijah Page, Charles Jagasaw, and what he said, bro, what he said to me on yesterday, he said Michigan made it tough this last visit. Like Notre Dame was the leader
Really?
the whole time. He said Michigan made it tough. He said Michigan was, this is funny. He kept it a buck. He said Michigan was the school that was like, wow, like, man, it's really fun up here. Coming from a small town, you know how it is. Coming from a
Mm.
small town feel, you go to a
He fell
place,
in love with the college feel.
yes, it's popping. You know what I'm saying? Like, man,
Yeah,
yo, it'll probably be fun up here, right? And then,
yeah.
I guess their big he was there, their big weekend. They had Desmond Howard, all the former players there. And look, Shaun Moore is a
Desmond
respected.
Howard ain't nobody to be. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Desmond Howard ain't nobody to be awing over.
Yeah.
His bad takes on TV.
So, and he was like, yo, it was literally, it made me think about some things. But then at the end of the day, Notre Dame was him. Because, like I said, his mother and his coach told every program he is not about the glitz and glam. Like, do not focus on the glitz and glam with him. And that's the one thing Notre Dame never did. And when Harry Hiestand gave
Well,
him that,
give us
say it again.
people don't give us the credit for that anyway. So
Yeah. And when Notre Dame, when
I mean,
Harry
he came to
Hiestand,
the perfect situation.
yeah, when Harry Hiestand had that 2-hour film session with him, and he started taking notes, he said he knew. He knew on the ride home, but he
He
just
said
had
he
to
knew.
make sure. Yeah, he said he knew on the ride home. He knew. You know what I'm saying? And his mom knew. So look, that's recruiting right there. For me, that stood out because I'm like, yo, that's so real, right? Because I
That's
think
so real.
everybody that has to make a college decision can relate to that, right? Like it's a party school on your
Yeah.
list that you would love, but then there's another school that like fits everything that you want to do and fits who you are. There are a lot.
Everything that you want to do.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? That's so relatable, man. That's so relatable. Has nothing to do with being an athlete, just making a college decision. Everyone goes through that where it's like, man, I can go to this school. I know it's going to be popping. Look, Howard made my top 5. Already knew Howard was going to be
Did
lit.
he really?
Oh, yeah. Howard was in my
Did it
top
really make
5.
the top 5?
I knew it was going to be lit if I went to Howard. I knew it, right? I knew it.
Yeah.
Dude, I knew I was gonna have a great time. I probably knew I would end up living on the East Coast after I graduated. But
Oh, it was like that.
yeah, but it was like every time I thought about my life and like where my family was at that point, and you know, like my dad literally had just started his ministry and was like transitioning away from his
Mm.
business. And it was a lot going on. And I was like, you know what? Like I want to be closer to my family. And that
Got
man,
it.
that impacted my decision, you know. So it's like it's refreshing to talk to a kid, and regardless of him being like a top 10 recruit, this dude is talking to you like a kid. Like I wasn't talking to an offensive lineman. I was talking to a kid. He's like, yo, man,
Yeah.
I had so much fun in Ann Arbor, man. It was just like he's a kid. He's being a kid. And I'm glad in the midst of everything that surrounds recruiting right now that this young man was able to find a space where he was able to be a kid and actually go through the process and think like, man, I know I really like them. But yo, it's kind of popping up in Ann Arbor. Like every time I went up there, I really had a good time. And ultimately, he chose Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But it was refreshing. It was refreshing to hear him go through his process.
And I think that's just the best part, man, where you see where college football recruitment really turns into a business decision for kids,
Yeah.
where they kind of know themselves, where they're like, man, I can go to Notre Dame, but I mean, I know I won't be the same person I would want to be if I went to Michigan, just due to everything included in there. I feel like I get the focus out of Hiestand that I want, as opposed to just taking the probably quality coaching as well, but I got to deal with the surrounding things. Where Notre Dame's a real focused place,
Mm-hmm.
where if you're taking yourself serious enough, you can feel comfort in going to a place where you know you're gonna get a result out of it. So I think he did the pros and cons of, if I put my head down for 3 4 years, I'll have fun, but I'll be a lot more focused here than at Michigan.
Yeah. And I've only been to Ann Arbor a couple of times, and it was post college, like for a master's event up there for my boy that was getting his master's.
Mm.
But like I said, that was years ago. Like these college towns have like there's so much money that's poured in, and the development and buildings and everything that's been added. Champaign was a ghost town when I was there. Now that bad fella is just a full metropolis, bro. It's crazy. It's great. I don't even recognize the campus.
Yeah, very- is that crazy, huh?
Man, man. So
Wow.
offensive line is set, and I didn't mention Joe Otti as part of the Fantastic Five. Um, the O line is set. If I'm not mistaken, most of those guys are going to be early enrollees, which is going to bode well for them.
Yeah, I mean everybody nowadays is early enrollee.
Man, and I think it's a limit on how many you can have, but it's a lot of recruits that are committed to Notre Dame already that have pretty much said, like, yeah, I'm enrolling early. So,
Yeah, they all saying it.
yeah,
They
yeah.
all saying it. So I don't know how that's gonna go.
Bro, let's dig in on this Notre Dame offensive line. I would venture to say that most are excited about the tackles. And Harry Hiestand made it a point to tell everybody, yo, relax. These guys are not all Americans quite yet. Joe Alt,
Oh
Blake,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Joe Alt, and Blake Fisher have some work to do. They have some things to do,
Yeah.
and you got to be careful. And I think him coming back, I think he needed to do that for these young guys, right? Like relax, don't start thinking too much of yourself. Put in the work, right? The quality goes in before the
Yes.
name goes on. Don't worry about accolades. Put in the work, and everything else will take care of itself.
And that's so true, because Coach Easton, I got a chance to talk to him at the spring practice. And that was one of the first things he says, which is so vintage Easton, is that he's like, look, I get all these guys ask me questions about Blake Fisher and the freshman, and I'm like, look, he ain't done nothing
Mhm.
yet. Like let him, I know he's excited, he's a heck of a player, but he's got a lot of things that he's got to get really good at before he starts indulging in to talking to the media. He stands like, I'm not letting the media trick me into answering questions or letting them talk to Blake, because Blake doesn't need that right now. And I think he stand is one of his best qualities is he protects his guys, because he knows, and he's been around the game long enough, and he knows when it's the right time for guys to go up there and talk to the media and when it's not to.
Right.
And that's something that's underrated about he stand, is because not everybody gets that same kind of care. So when they put themselves out there, it can be sometimes not in their favor.
And there's a lot of shuffling that could possibly happen. Uh, you got the return of Jared Patterson. You have the return of Josh Love. We'll see how things go in fall camp. And Harry Houston, I know, said talk to you about that as well. Jared Patterson, for draft sake, is it better for him to be the number one center or to throw himself into a fray of more competitive offensive guards? from a draft perspective. But offensive guards now in the NFL what can go in the first round. I think Jared Patterson will be the first to tell you that he came in with accolades preseason, and I don't think his play lived up to it, honestly. Now,
No.
you know, there was a certain weaknesses to his right as center that he had to worry about. And I'll
Here
just
we
leave it
go.
at that. I'll just leave
He's
it at
so
that.
funny, man. He's so funny.
You know,
Okay.
and that could have been on his mind, but I saw way too many missed assignments by a guy that's supposed to be the leader of that unit. You know, you go back to the
Definitely.
Super Bowl, and I saw at least two in the first half.
Yeah, man, he definitely didn't have the impact that you would have expected or hoped for,
Yeah,
like you see from these Iowa centers or guards, where you're like, man, I'm glad we had him. Like, think about the impact of a guy like Zach Martin. Didn't give up a sack his senior year, but you could tell,
yeah.
we were well protected on that side. Now he did have to play cover and have coach throughout some of the season to get guys on the same page as it was going, but a lot to be desired from. But I think that's just the expectation we have from a player we believe is really good. So I think for him, being where he stand, he has less to worry about from managing other guys and then getting them better and on the same page. So maybe he can focus more on his individual talent and get back to where we believe he can be.
On that interior, there's a lot of competition that's going to be taking place. And a lot of people, you're hearing the name Zeke Carrell, Jared Patterson. He's going to be able to play both positions, center and guard. Do you go ahead and combine him with Josh Love and come up with a great combination? Michael Carmody is another candidate to go inside. Caleb Johnson looked really, really good, at that right tackle position. And then Andrew Kristofic, who was that left guard. Maybe they move him to center. And you got the young kid, Billy Shrouf, who's going to come in. And by all accounts, once he gets acclimated and gets some weight, he might end up being that Joe Alt in the middle of the season
Mm,
that gives you that depth. Because he is rugged. He is competitive. He's a tough son of a gun. And he is exactly what Harry Hiestand likes.
that's right.
And Tosh
And I
Baker,
think what's
go
important
ahead.
too when you mention that is that what we're also talking about is a bunch of guys individually have their own strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing Heaston does well is mixing the strengths of individuals like a Blake Fisher, Joe Alt, Jared Patterson, and putting those guys and Christophic, putting those guys together all on their individual strengths and herd them together. So now you can't really tell, but they're all really good at something, but they play even better as a unit. And that's just the effect of what Heaston brings to an offensive line, which is still crazy that he's ranked 34 because who else is doing that? A
Yeah.
lot of schools you go to, you see one or two guys pop out, and you're like, that's a tremendous talent. But to have a whole offensive line be draft eligible, all have their unique abilities, but play well together, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, you got Zeke Carrell. As I said before, one of the guys that people are interested in seeing what's going to happen with him. Um, Joey Tonona, one of the young guys. You got your boy Emil Wagner coming to campus. He needs to gain weight, but he's super
That's right.
athletic. So you get to see what he's going to be able to do. Look, when you have the offensive staff, Chris Watt, Harry Hiestand, and the GCs, they're going to be okay. Freshmen like Todd Chan, who connected with Charles Jagasaw and pretty much became his best friend in the span of 2 days during Charles Jagasaw's
Mm.
last visit. And they had just reported as a freshman class, look, man, relax. Let's wait and see but the expectation is that the offensive line is going to be one of the strongest units on this team.
Mm. Yeah, the offensive line is the foundation, the base, and for what we have offensively is great to have. I think if anything, you're in a position where you can guarantee a certain things having the offensive line that we do. So you're able as a guy like Tommy Reese be able to see an offense develop and have a chance to develop and or gain an identity as time goes on because you can know I can block long enough to do certain things, some things I can't.
Yeah. Lucky Lefty podcast brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, the premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. So I want to show this little clip. And, before I show it, I want people to be cool. This is Josh Pate, and he has a great show. I love his show. I watch his show pretty much every day. And this is him, talking about his expectations when it comes to Notre Dame. Let me bring it up and make sure I have it. All right, here we go. This is Josh Pate talking about his expectations for Notre Dame.
One regular season loss last year. That was to Cincinnati, by the way. And they were 11-2 overall. They lost the bowl game, gave up a second half storm from behind against Oklahoma State. And now it's Marcus Freeman's show in South Bend. What's reasonable to expect here? The over-under in Vegas is 9, and that's where I am. I think it's reasonable to expect 9-3. Line of scrimmage is an edge they're going to have in most games. What they inherit up there is built very well from the inside. They're trying to build from the inside out. And fortunately, that inside portion of the team, offensive line, defensive line, it's already pretty well stocked. Tight end as well, pretty well stocked. Probably get the best one in the country, if not one of the very best in the country, and Michael Mayer. But then when you start to get further away from the ball at the wide receiver position, the difference makers probably are not there. And for that matter, I know that there's optimism about Tyler Buckner at quarterback. It's not a proven commodity by any stretch of the imagination, which is a phrase I'm trying to eradicate from the show this year because I said it like 400 million times last year. But anyway, here's another phrase I'm trying to get rid of. I say all that to say this. There are going to be a lot of close games this year. And that's not even including games like at Ohio State week 1 or maybe even Clemson later in the year. If you're having trouble, getting above that 24-point threshold, if you're having to play every game like a rock fight, it probably spells success against these teams you can out physical. And there are a lot of them on their schedule. But the reason I'm going 9-3 and then no better is because young quarterback, tight end centric passing game, and then knowing I've got Ohio State and Clemson on the schedule, I've got to account for a couple of losses there, or at least be reasonable and account for a couple of losses. And then after that, I got to go to Vegas to face Brigham Young. That's a really good passing attack and a mobile quarterback and a unique quarterback in Jaron Hall. I've got to face North Carolina on the road. I've got a late season visit from Boston College before I go to USC. I have no clue what Lincoln Riley's team is going to be by then. That may be a game I need 30 or 35 in. Can I get there? 9-3, all things considered. Also first-year head coach there in Marcus Freeman. All things considered, I think 9-3 is reasonable.
We love our house.
What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, but there's an animal in the attic.
Now,
At least Geico makes bundling our
now, now, I said all things considered as well. We have a 9-win season if we just didn't make any changes.
Yeah.
So if Tyler Buckner plays as average as you can play, yes, we're a 9-win team. I said that.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember me saying that?
Yeah.
I remember me saying that because the team on paper is just too good when you're talking about position for position matching up each game. Now, all things considered, we are banged up now. We got Jadarian Price that's out. Logan Diggs is going to probably miss a few games. You got a couple receivers hurt. So we're hurting a little bit on the offensive side of football already. But even with all of that, if Tyler Buckner just is a 500 quarterback from everything stat wise, we can win 9 games. That's not the issue. Our issue that we've always had is who's going to be the quarterback that can get us that 10, 11, 12 game victory. Because at the end of the day, unless we're bringing in everybody like Georgia did with 5-star everything, which Marcus Freeman is working on, you have to have an elite quarterback. The guy talked about a young quarterback, tight end centric passing game. That's exactly what we are.
Like, that's what I thought, because I didn't want Notre Dame fans to get upset. It's like, you know what? He's kind of being honest about
that only works. That only works if you had Georgia's defense, which was literally, arguably, the greatest defense of college football history. So unless you churning that out, no offense at 2022 and beyond is going to be successful being a pass tight end centric offense with a young quarterback. That's not a recipe for anything over 30 plus points.
Let's be honest.
And our defense is great.
We put up 34, 35 points on average consistently in that tight end centric.
That's very true.
And so
but that lumps into why it's a 9-win automatic. That 35-point factor, I'm talking about 10, 11, 12, those victories. Cincinnati, where was we at? Like 20 something?
Yeah.
23?
Yeah, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it becomes
where you need a quarterback.
That's when it becomes
because good teams are going to figure out a tight end. And Michael Mayer is great, but Michael Mayer ain't that great to where he changing the game like a Travis Kelce. So your quarterback going to have to be pretty special or special enough to make the 8 or 9 throws you're going to need in the game that matters.
And that goes back to how everything is.
Bryce Young is making him 8 or 9, 10 throws in a game that you like, damn, that's too good. That's what sets Alabama different because they got a game breaker. 8 or 9, 10 plays of that's just too good at the quarterback position from throwing the football. That's hard to find.
Yeah.
For instance, with Deshaun Watson contract, that's if you really did the math, that's about $300,000 a throw.
Wow.
That's $300,000 a throw. So taking it back to college, those are wins are the same equivalent. Them throws matter. Them 10 throws is what's going to be crucial for Tyler Buckner in these 10, 11, 12 games. He can get away with it in them other 9 games because we got the talent that's going to make up for it.
We
need the talent to make up for that position.
If we do a positional checklist, there will be 3 to 4 games where Notre Dame will be at a disadvantage at the quarterback position.
Yes. And that's why he said 9 games.
Right? Like,
in my opinion, your quarterback is giving you the games that you most likely going to come out with in the season.
So
from the rip,
CJ Stroud will get the nod. Right?
He's a 12, 11 game guy. Yeah.
The Hall kid, because of experience and playmaking for BYU, if he's not even, he gets the nod.
He's a 9-win guy.
Over TV. Caleb Williams, as much as people
10,
want to
I'll say 9 to 10.
Will get the nod if he's not even with TB in the quarterback situation.
Where he is, I say 10 to 11 wins with a Caleb.
Phil Jacovic would probably get the pregame nod over Tyler Buckner as a quarterback.
I'll give Phil a 9 to 10 game. He's right there at the point where Boston College, I don't think they're more talented than we are.
No, nowhere
But
near. The receivers are dangerous.
But we got enough.
Right. Oh,
To
absolutely.
answer those issues.
That's up front. Yeah.
And I think,
yeah.
but Phil on a team like that, that's an 8-9 win guy.
Yeah.
8-9 win guy with their schedule. Clemson, us, and maybe a sneaky team in the season might get him.
Yeah.
But he can get you from how good he is. He can get you 8-9.
Yeah.
Tyler Buckner, because he's on a really good team, is a 9-10 win quarterback. Tyler Buckner anywhere else, 7 to 8 win kind of guy.
So, in order for Notre Dame to win a national championship, will they have to walk on the field with the better quarterback, or will they be able to build things up to the point where the quarterback just has to be like even or just close enough to compete and make plays?
We either got to have the all-time greatest defense like Georgia. If we have 25 stars on the roster, yes. If we have generational talent like a Florida offense, you get a Percy Harvin, get you Aaron, you get you a couple running backs in there. Yes. Tyler Buckner's situation and how the team is built is dependent on him playing above his potential.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so true. Michael Parks,
Because
it says defense can win you 9 games.
On his back.
Has to win 3. That's true. Bryce Young won at least 2 to 3 games himself last year.
In the postseason. Postseason.
The LSU and the Auburn game, that was all Bryce.
He won that. And he won the Georgia game. In the SEC championship.
In the SEC championship game, he put on a show on that Georgia game.
He was putting on crazy he was making all the passes. That one where he threw to Jameson when it was double covered, that's one of those 8 to 10 plays you got to make in the game.
That was a heck of a stop and go.
Those are game-breaking plays.
That was a heck of a stop and go by Jameson. Which goes to the point he made. The program is trending to getting there and evolving from the tight end passing offense because of recruiting in the way it's going.
But it will always level off if you don't have a 10 to 11 win quarterback. You can get there with a guy that's 10 to 11 wins.
Yeah.
You can't get there, or it's going to be a struggle if he's a 8 to 9 kind of win guy.
And that's something else we need to change.
Tyler being on the team.
I want this program to get to the point where the mantra is not every week we expect the defense to carry us.
Yeah.
Because then you need an all-time great defense. Like, I just want to be a team that can be explosive in all 3 phases, explosive, big plays and special teams, explosive, big plays offensively. If we need to run the ball or run the clock out and be physical, we can do that. If we can rush the passer, we can stop the run. Like, I just want a team that's capable of doing whatever needs to be done to win the game. Like he said, I don't want to go into these rock fights every week.
There's going to be some rock fights.
There's going to be some rock fights every year. Like, I don't want a rock fight with Marshall. Man, we need to end that. We need to end that early. We need to end that Cal game early. I'm cool with North Carolina being in the game for a half. But midway through that 3rd quarter, we need to pull away from North Carolina. It's just certain things you need to see from this team as they move forward that's going to look, man. Somebody put this out, and I thought it was absolutely perfect on social media. Ryan Kelly was the perfect coach and came in at the right time and was exactly what Notre Dame needed. And Brian Kelly left exactly at the right time when Notre Dame needed him to leave. I think both
Yeah,
things.
'cause it didn't gut us.
No, I think both things are true. It's like I think he had proven who he was and what he could accomplish at Notre Dame. I think he had gotten tired and needed to move on. And I think the program needed a fresh vision and a new voice to give it the best chance to take that next step. But man, I greatly appreciate him showing up and what he did. Because what it was before he got here, man. Now, like Marcus Freeman said after the Fiesta Bowl, that's over. It's time to go. And the recruits will tell you, all he talks about is national championship. That's it. That's it. You're coming here to win a national championship. Yeah, we're bringing you to get a good education for forever, but you're coming here to be part of a national championship. So what's your...
That's what we had.
And like Josh Pate said, man, up front, Notre Dame is going to have an advantage pretty much every week. Every week.
We got the advantage against Ohio State.
I think there's only one game where I would say Notre Dame does not have the advantage, and that's Clemson. And we talking about the trenches. That defensive line at Clemson, fam, look, you got to show respect to Clemson. Dude,
the D-line is there.
Their defensive numbers, this is crazy. If you look at their defensive numbers, as much as people think they were disappointing last year, when you look at their defensive metrics and see how close they were to Georgia, it's really crazy. It's almost like, okay, all right.
Well, no Brett Venables is going to be interesting to see how they manage.
Now, that is interesting. That is interesting, especially with the creative blitzes and different looks and the pressures that you knew.
And he's checking every play. Like, he's calling something every play. So, he's looking at what they're doing and calling stuff mid-play. So, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, it is. And we'll see how much he'll be missed. And we'll get to see how much he impacts Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball when they've struggled mightily for the last decade, you can say, defensively, trying to keep – they could outscore you, but they get the game, they couldn't stop you. They definitely couldn't stop you. Yo, bro, the Avalanche is here. Charles Jackensaw started the Avalanche today. Micah Bell tomorrow. There could be a surprise announcement on Saturday. I'll leave it at that. Rico Flores on the 3rd. And then Christian Gray on the 4th. And then in the days after, I think there are going to be some announcements from 2 or 3 kids that are going to announce that they'll be making their announcement in the middle of July. But after this weekend, Notre Dame could definitely sit at 20 commits just after this weekend.
Just after this weekend.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty good.
As we get ready to close, and we thank everybody for joining us today. We just saw another 24 commit to Notre Dame and wide receiver Cam Williams out of Glen Ellen, Illinois, Glenbar South High School. And talking to Cam, he said he just knew and there was no reason for him to wait. And remember, we talked to Jack Larson's coach, and I talked to you about his theory on when you know, and he prefers for his guys to go ahead and commit early. You push back on that a little bit, but this is my question. Because one of the things Cam Williams said was, dude, I was getting tired of the recruiting process. I'm like, fam, you haven't even taken your first day of classes as a junior. But everything's different, bro. And the reason it's different is because of this. These kids are being contacted much earlier. They are making connections because of these camps and these 7-on-7s at a quicker rate. And they're establishing relationships with schools and staffs much earlier than people did, or like when you were being recruited. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we're going to see this windfall of like 24 kids to start recruiting or 25 kids recruit before their junior years, but I do think the game has changed. And I think we will start seeing schools getting 5 to 6 commits from the class that's the class behind the class, current class that they're recruiting. I think it's going to be a trend because I think these kids are getting more information quicker, and they have the capability of making decisions much faster than previous years. And I think that's something we might see continuing, as we go forth.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I think it's getting down to the nitty-gritty.
It is.
Better pick a school for us.
It is. It is. And I see, Caleb Downs is still out there. Samuel Mpemba is still out there. Dante Moore is still out there. Richard Young is still out there. Jaden Osbury is still out there. I think Moore is trending to making his decision coming up here really soon. But Notre Dame really is going into the season full throttle on the 24 class. They have their guys that they want to close on for 23, but that 24 class, that's going to be the main class coming to game days. That the staff
led by CJ Carr.
There you go. Who has proven that it's nothing but a quick ride. He can jump in the car and float down at any minute. Like, yo, we need you for this kid. We need you for that kid. I was talking to Drake Bowen last night, and he was just like, yeah, I got a call. He was saying how much he needed to call Jaden Osbury this weekend. Like, yeah, I got to stay in his ear. And it's like, yo, the family atmosphere, the excitement, everything that's popping around this program right now, it's a darn good feeling, my man.
That's right.
It's a darn good feeling. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share. More than anything, hit the notification bell so you'll know each and every time we're about to go live. It's going to be a great holiday weekend for the Notre Dame football program. Everybody enjoy. Because Notre Dame is probably going to lengthen that lead in the 23 rankings as the number one class over the next 3 to 4 days. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Yep. Petty Junction each and every day right here. Someone said, I acted out something that was absolutely petty. Pettiest story of the day brought to you by Onora Whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey, NoraWhiskey.com. It's the perfect way to cap off, the perfect nightcap for a dub in the fall. So, hey, bro, I don't know if you saw this story, bro, but allegedly Carmelo Anthony he's single now, and he was in a hotel with a young dip, and another one of his dips sent him flowers. And the dip he was with got mad and put him on blast. You're a dip. You're a dip. What are you mad about?
You're a dip.
You're a dip. Like, what do you want? He's not married to you. He like everybody wants to run and like out somebody on social media, man. And I don't get it. It's absolutely dumb. Like, you might lose your spot now over some flowers.
For what? To be over some views?
Yo, I just thought that was super petty, bro. I thought that was mad petty. You got any pettiness? I'm tired of putting Draymond Green on the petty.
I'm tired of putting Kyrie and Stephen A going at it. I'm convinced that these athletes and these media journalists want to throw hands. We need a pay-per-view set up. Skip Bayless versus Russ, Stephen A versus Kyrie.
Yeah.
In the boxing ring. I'm ready to see it.
Yeah. And knowing that I've been behind the scenes and how things are set up, these dudes are all in cahoots, man. I did see Draymond apologize to Big Perk, though. That was good to see. He apologized.
Yeah, Draymond just be talking too crazy.
Yeah. That was good to see. That was good to see. But knowing behind the scenes, these dudes are in cahoots, right? That's why he could go with KD and then go on KD's podcast, and now him and KD are cool. You know, Stephen A. It's like, I don't do, because none of these dudes are tough guys. Like, they get to talking tough, like, none of these dudes are tough. None of them. Like, Kyrie is a nerd. He loves board games and wizardry and all of that stuff. That's who he is. He's a nerd that can hoop. That's who he is. So he's not tough. Heck, I don't do bronze. No one in the league is a tough guy. No, the league is the league right now. I will say this. I like what the Atlanta Hawks did yesterday, bro. That DeJounte Murray pickup was real nice.
They pushing, they trying to win.
Yeah, see, people forget they were in the Eastern Conference Finals just 2 years ago. They took a step back.
Yeah, they act like it wasn't that big of a deal, but that Trae Young got them there.
Yeah.
So that was enough for them to start making real decisions. I mean, DeJounte's a great backcourt decision. Yeah. They're trying to move John Collins. They're trying to do some other things. So we never know. They may be a threat. They're going to need it.
Today at 5 o'clock, man, we'll see what this free agency is all about. Bradley Beal opts out, to reportedly make it easier for Washington to do some things. You got James Harden opting out to take a pay cut. PJ Tucker reportedly going to the Sixers to join James Harden once again like he did in Houston. They just got DeAnthony Melton in a trade from the Grizzlies. Bobby Portis opts out. I think he's going to eventually go back to the Bucks, but he opts out to help them out with their cap. If you look up right now, I think the Nets are like 4.5 to 1 to win the East. Man, the Celtics are like 2.5 to 1 right now. I think the Sixers are sitting at like 6. The Bucks are sitting at around 5 or 6. Eastern Conference is going to be very interesting, and I hope for your sake,
except
bro.
The Knicks.
For your for your sake, bro, and your sanity, I hope the Lakers can make this Kyrie thing happen. I really hope they can.
Don't worry. Chef Brown can always make a good meal. He'll be all
Hey,
right.
he's the best. He's the best player GM in the league. I think Trey is trying to give him a run for his money, but he's the best right now. He's the
We'll
best
see.
player GM that I know.
That's right.
Hey, man, we thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to talk about these quarterbacks tomorrow. We're going to dig deep, bro, because you've been on your mountain for the last week pretty much saying, name the starter now. Name the starter now. Stop playing. We need to name the starter now.
Stop playing.
We'll dig deep into it. We'll talk about quarterback recruiting. We'll talk about more of Tyler Buckner and what you need to see and what you need to develop around him for him to be successful and his team to be successful. So it's another show. We look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. As always, before you do anything, make sure you spend it different today. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Lucky Lefty Podcast.